This question has been circulating the One Punch Man fandom for quite a while at this point. One issue with this topic previously has been the comparison of anime or manga Boros to webcomic Garou. Something that hasn't really been that fair, as the webcomic and manga share a similar story but have a few differences, especially when it comes to power scaling and specific feats being expanded on in the manga to make characters in that version of the story seem much stronger, and the simple fact that one and Murata work together to create the manga, meaning it's a more refined version of the story anyway. We've actually had the author one comment on this matchup, which is most likely referring to the webcomic version of both of them. This was the question: Garou or Boros, who would win? And his response? Boros was definitely the stronger one, but Garou is now a near perfect monster. I don't really know a good match. I do believe Garou is stronger in close combat where things like punches and kicks can generally be avoided. This makes complete sense, as Garou is the prodigy martial artist who fights at close combat as his main thing, while Boros is this alien dude with insane regeneration who uses like Dragon Ball blast-like attacks. One doesn't directly state who would win in that fight, but he does say Boros is definitely the stronger one, meaning as a whole, Boros can be considered stronger, but again, this most likely refers to the webcomic version of both of the characters. The fandom as a whole when comparing manga Boros to webcomic awakened monster Garou is that Boros would be the winner more likely. Of course, there's arguments to say Garou would win, but the main consensus is that Boros is stronger as a whole. However, that could completely change depending on where the manga goes from here. In the most recent chapter, we had Garou and Saitama finally meeting, with everyone in the fandom believing their fight is about to begin very shortly, potentially in the next chapter, with this pretty goated panel if I'm being honest. Before I continue, do me a favour and hit that subscribe button if you're a fan of One Punch Man. I'll be making much more content on this series throughout 2022. It's greatly appreciated. So, will Garou surpass Boros in the manga? One thing to mention is another answer from the author one. The question was, what was the disaster level of Boros? One's answer, greater or equal to Dragon. So pretty much 100% confirmed that he wasn't God level, but the mention of greater pretty much means high Dragon. I do think he's stronger than all the monsters we've seen of the Monster Association. Maybe Sage Centipede and Evil Natural Ocean could be an argument for some based on their narrative implications, but again, I think Boros is stronger than all of them, including Monster King Orochi, based on the way Saitama defeated him in the redraws. So Boros, for what we know, is still the strongest opponent of Saitama we've seen in the story so far, but as someone who didn't reach the god level threat, this is good for Garou. As throughout this arc, Garou has mentioned multiple times of wanting and believing he will reach that god level. Of course, we have God himself appearing throughout this arc and having some role in the story. He is most likely narratively stronger than Boros, but Saitama hasn't really acknowledged him as an enemy or existing really for what we've seen, so he doesn't really count. But Garou reaching that god level threat could potentially happen. The only way Garou, by the fandom's perspective, will be able to surpass Boros in this fight is two ways. Saitama straight out states he's the strongest person he's faced so far. That would be pretty much definitive proof. Or if Garou manages to survive consecutive serious punches. As when using a serious punch on Boros, pretty much rolled him. Using a serious squirt gun, he rolled Monster King Orochi. Serious punch again on Elder Centipede, and he also used a serious punch on Evil Ocean Water, who survived that for what we know, but we haven't seen him since. But based on that chapter and him appearing again with his eye, Evil Ocean Water is still alive and has survived a serious punch from Saitama. Of course, if Garou is able to survive multiple of those or something even more insane, that would mean his durability will be above the likes of Boros or any other character really. Or if he's able to damage Saitama, which would be pretty insane. But now I'm going to talk a little bit about the webcomic fight between both of them. Of course, there may be spoilers, as their fight could go the same way in the manga version or could be completely different for all we know. But in the webcomic version, Saitama wasn't really trying to kill Garou throughout this fight, he was more so trying to save him. But he did use a serious headbutt. Is a serious headbutt stronger than a serious punch? Of course, we have no idea, most likely not. Is Saitama currently in the story stronger than what he was against Boros? Potentially based on certain statements, but not 100% confirmed. So you can already see a few things helping Garou and a few things helping Boros for this argument. Another thing previously mentioned for these two characters is Boros kicking Saitama to the moon. But now, recently in the manga, we've had Garou kind of going to space, not all the way to the moon, but fairly close, and then using his, karate chop to defeat Sage Centipede. So again, something that for many would mean Boros would instantly win with that isn't really a factor anymore, which again is pretty cool and why I'm enjoying the manga version. But do I personally believe Garou will surpass Boros during this fight? Yes, I do, and here are my reasons. Garou will progressively get stronger in fighting Saitama. His want to reach god level, the possible interference of the actual god in this fight, the amount of build up and story importance Garou has gotten, he's pretty much considered the second main character by many people, and throughout this whole arc, or the last few years of the One Punch Man manga, it's more so been focused on Garou than it has been on Saitama. Previously in the Boros arc and everything prior, Saitama was getting the majority of the shine, with other characters like Genos having moments here and there, but ever since the introduction of Garou, he's more so been the focus of the story, and we've been following Garou a lot more than what we've been following Saitama. Of course, it's fairly close, but based on panel or on-screen time, I think Garou is definitely in the advantage, and just the sheer amount of fights he's had compared to Saitama since his introduction is pretty crazy. So if they're going to have Saitama defeat Garou, at least send them off with a big bang of being the strongest person Saitama has ever faced. That would be a perfect way to end this arc and for it to truly surpass Saitama's fight with Boros, at least in my opinion. Let me know what you think about this down below. Do you think he'll surpass Boros, or Boros will still be the number one? Any other One Punch Man videos you want me to make, let me know down below. Make sure to check out all the other stuff in the description if you want. And of course, shout out to these absolute mad lads who support the channel via the Patreon. But yep, that's it guys. Peace.